Hello friends and enemies alike, this is Elizabeth again with yet another video on the family murders and the deep dark underbelly that is our stinking shithole dump Adelaide. Now, I want to put in my own personal perspective of what I basically saw going on in the system when I was there in relation to shelters and homes getting kickbacks for providing children for abuse and allowing things like prostitution and drug taking to take place. Now, I'm going to give 3 stories that were very relevant to me. Some names are going to be redacted, some names aren't, principally because those people are no longer with us, very unfortunately. Anyway, I first came into the system in just before Easter of 1985, and it was a voluntary placement. I was given up to the system. It was basically find a home for her now, and the only placement they could find for me was the shittiest dump in Adelaide, and it was called Adelaide Kids Shelter. It was at 18 to 20 Penola Street, Kilkenny. And I was basically placed there. There was 2 of us living there, me and another girl. Because she's dead now, I'll use her name. Her name was Leslie Dadleff. She was a known drug user. She was a prolific prostitute, and she was also, I would say, a procurer, because she did kind of try and procure me into her type of lifestyle. But it wasn't blunt or anything. It was very, very subtle. Things I noticed. Leslie was, I'm sure she had a good heart, but she was a very, very damaged child. She was 12 years old like I was. She'd been sexually abused. She'd been in loads and loads of different placements, so she never had any sort of security or stability in her life. And here's me that just came along out of nowhere. I was a 12-year-old virgin. I didn't even know what sex was. I didn't know what prostitution was. I didn't know what a pimp was. I didn't know what a ponce was. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how babies were made. That's how sheltered I was. I came from an ethnic background, and it just never occurred to me, any of this stuff. Now, I know it sounds weird coming from a 12-year-old girl, but that was what I basically was. Anyway, I noticed that, first of all, I thought it was weird that Leslie was living at several places at once. She would be living with us, but she also had digs around the corner at Woodville Park, a family she would stay with. And she also had digs at Croydon, an abandoned house which was a squat on Sackville Avenue. It's important to note that the squat isn't there anymore and not being used. Anyway, I noticed that Leslie would, what they call abscond, run away, disappear, whatever, and she would come back. And she didn't have many clothes, but she'd always come back with makeup and perfumes and stuff like that. And I'd always ask the adults, who's giving her all this stuff? Where's she getting all this stuff from? Why don't I have stuff like her? Here I am, I've got 2 sets of clothes, plus my school uniform. I had absolutely nothing, no toys, no belongings, no anything. And here's Leslie, who would run away for days and weeks on end. And she would come back with makeup and handbags and shoes and drugs and a fistful of cash. And I asked questions, obviously. Where's she getting all this stuff from? How do I get stuff like that? What do I do to get stuff like that? I was clueless. I thought maybe she had a job somewhere and she could get me a job. Yeah, she had a job, all right. And none of the adults would tell me what she was doing or where she was going. But I noticed that the adults were living a very rich lifestyle. For instance, one of my care workers, I will call Robbie. This was after Leslie left. Got married and had 2 honeymoons. 2 honeymoons? She went overseas for 6 months before she got married. And then when she came back, she got married and then she went away again. How'd she afford that? And also, Robbie would only shop in designer boutiques on Unley Road, places like this. And I was clueless, but, I wanted a piece of that lifestyle. I wanted to know what was going on, but no one would tell me. And one day, I'd been sick for a very, very long time. I contracted glandular fever, and Robbie was the person on care duty that day. And the way Leslie operated was she would piss off, she'd be gone for weeks, and then she'd just, make a miraculous appearance, and the adults would really act like there was there was nothing going on. If the police came to the door, I was instructed not to go and open it. And the police were at our door all the time looking for her. Because they could never keep track of her. I believe that she did have warrants out for her. Anyway, I was sitting there one day at the dinner table. This is about noon, and Leslie just rocks up, and she comes in with this Italian guy. Very nice looking guy. And also another girl that used to live at the shelter, but before I came along. And Leslie had marks on her neck, and I didn't know what they were. And I said to Robbie, "What's those things on her neck?" And she goes, "It's a mark of ownership." And I said, "What do you mean ownership?" And she goes, "It's a mark of ownership that he owns her." And I was just so confused at this time. I had no idea what she was on about. Hang on, I thought slavery had been abolished. What do you mean he owns her? And Leslie's pissing herself laughing because I've got no idea what a hickey was. And Leslie was pissing herself laughing. So was this bloke. Mind you, Leslie was 12 and this bloke was in his 20s. And Leslie announced to me that that was her boyfriend. And I was absolutely horrified. A 12-year-old with a 20-something guy, and that's her boyfriend? And I turned to Robbie and I said, "Are you going to let her go out with him?" And she said to me, "It's Leslie's choice." I said, "Does that mean that I'm allowed to get a boyfriend and go out with anyone I like of any age?" And she goes to me, "Not you." I said, why? She goes, you're ugly. And, you know, taking a good look at myself back then, I probably was. I was anorexic. I had short, black, curly hair. I was 5 foot nothing. I don't think I had any redeeming features whatsoever. I should have been 55 kilos, but I was only at least 30. And, yeah, and she said to me, not you, you're ugly. And, okay. So they left. And, again, the cops started coming around for Leslie, asking for her. And, apparently she gone and ripped off one of her ex-foster carers or something, I don't know. And, on one occasion, when Leslie actually did hang around for quite some time, it was about a fortnight, Leslie took me into her room. And, she opened her wardrobe. I never went into a room. I respected people's privacy. I very rarely came out of my room. I was so scared. Very, very rarely. So, she opens her wardrobe, and it's full of makeup, and there was lingerie hanging in her drawer, like suspenders and matching G-bangers and teddies and, you know, all stuff like this. And, you know, I thought, wow, you know, this is really pretty. And, you know, it was expensive too, you know. And all these were like designer brands and everything. And she goes to me, would you like to get some of this too? And I'm like, duh, of course I would. Of course I would. Of course I'd love some of that stuff. I'd like to go shopping and buy my own stuff. I didn't have any clothes. I didn't have nothing. And she goes, would you like to meet my boyfriend again? And I'm there, who? She goes, Minio. I'm like, who the fuck is Minio? I don't know any Minio. And she goes, Minio Francine. And I'm there, I don't... Oh, was that the Italian guy you came around with that time? She goes, yeah, do you want to meet him again? I said, oh, okay. I don't know why I have to meet him again, but okay, I'll meet him again. She goes, if you meet him, you can get all stuff like this too. And I'm there, really? Does he, like, just give you these things as, like, love offerings or presents or something? And she goes, well, sort of. And, I didn't press the matter any further. And, she arranged for me to, meet Minio. And, she goes, but you have to run away with me first. Because, I can't bring him here again. And I'm there, but Robbie liked him. So, why can't he come here? I was really confused. She goes, he can't come here again. You have to go to him. If you come with me on such and such a night, I'll take you to where he's at, and you can meet him. I said, okay, fine. And, I didn't know what I had to do or what my job would be, Thought maybe working in a family business or something. They were Italian, working with the family business. I didn't know. And, so I prepared myself to go with her on that night, and she'd been out all day, and she comes back with this large Aboriginal girl called Big Lisa. And I'm there. Okay. So we're all going to go into town, and we're all going to go and meet this Minio. And, Big Lisa was a good girl. And she said to me, don't go. I said, why not? She told me that if I go and meet this Minio, I was going to go and get all this stuff and everything. And she goes, do you know what you have to do to get all this stuff? And I said, well, no, but I'm assuming that he's going to tell me when I get there. And she goes, you don't want to know. Do not go. And, I went in and I told Leslie, look, your friend Big Lisa said that I shouldn't meet Minio, and I shouldn't go with you. So I think maybe I shouldn't meet Minio. And anyway, so she goes storming outside, and her and Big Lisa get into it right in the backyard. Then her and Big Lisa storm off, and I had no idea at the time the bullet that I just dodged. None at all. None. And I just remember being really, really confused and scared. And, but I wanted all that stuff. And, You know, as months went on, Leslie would come and go, come and go, come and go. And one time she came to us and she was beaten up real bad. And she said that Minio had done it, that Minio had hit her. And I said, but what would Minio hit you for? You just said he was your boyfriend before. And she was mumbling something about money or cash or something like that. I didn't understand at the time. I was just a little kid. But I understand now that the whole idea of bringing Minio around that day wasn't to introduce him to Robbie, but was to introduce him to me, to look at me. And I didn't know that Leslie was working as a prostitute. And I certainly didn't know that she was a streetwalker either. And I didn't know that Minio would do things like beat her up if she didn't make enough money or anything. And I had no idea that Leslie was just one of his girls. And that was Adelaide at the time. Anyway, so Leslie hadn't seen Minio for a while. She was getting a bit strung out because she hadn't got drugs for a while. I think she was on speed and some other shit. I know that she used to sniff glue and liquid paper. And we were all out one night and we were coming back from the cinema and we were going to the shelter van and she sees Minio's brother getting into his car. And she goes, where the fuck is Minio? I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. And he goes, he's in jail. And at this point, Leslie starts flipping out and everything. And she tries to get in the car with his brother, but his brother wouldn't let her get in. And after that, she was kicked out of the shelter and I didn't see her again. But my the next person who tried to procure me was a girl I'll refer to as P, because she's still alive. So anyway, Leslie left. P came about 3 weeks later. And it was basically the same friggin' story. Run away for weeks on end, days on end, come back with all this cool stuff. The adults, well, the care workers were living the high life. And I had no idea what was going on. I was none the wiser. And came to a point, you know, Pete wasn't with us for very long. She was only with us for about a fortnight. But a fortnight to 3 weeks at the most. But she was more direct. She was more direct. And basically, she showed me her wardrobe. She showed me her outfits. And I said, where'd you get all that stuff from? And she said, my mum bought it for me. And I said, your mum? Well, first of all, no one around here has any mum, because if they did, they wouldn't be living here. And number two, your mum lets you wear that stuff? She goes, yeah, all the time. And I'm there, God, your mum must be really cool, because my mum would have a conniption fit if she saw me in underwear like that. So I'll go to the adults and I basically confront them. And I said, I think I'm getting ripped off here. She's got all those nice outfits. I'm walking around in rags. What's the deal? Why am I getting 100% of jack shit and Leslie and P were getting everything plus some? Anyway, and this was a conversation me and Robbie had. Anyway, she goes and she sits me down. And she said to me, where did P tell you she got all her underwear and lingerie from? And I said, well, she told me her mum bought it for her and her mum lets her wear it, and that's quite fine with her mum, so I can't see why I can't have the same. And she goes, her mum didn't buy that stuff for her. She doesn't have a mum. And I said, well, I figured that she didn't have a mum, but if her mum didn't buy that stuff, then who did? She goes, her ponce. And I'm there, what the hell is a ponce? And Robbie basically explained to me that P would work. Well, basically, Robbie had to first of all, explain to me the facts of life, because I didn't even know what sex was. And after being absolutely horrified at that information, because I was just so embarrassed that I was 12 years old, 13, and I didn't even know how a baby was made, or what sex was, or what a penis was, or anything. And basically she told me that there was a place where P would go, and P would get gifts and money and other items in exchange for sex. And that was where she went and got all that lingerie from and all the other stuff from. And she said that some of the money her Ponce would keep. She told me that P was owned by someone and that her Ponce would keep some and she would receive the rest plus any fringe benefits the clients decided to give her. And on there, absolutely gobsmacked at this information on there. And you're letting her do this? And they said, and she said in a very haphazardly way, we've got nothing to do with it. And I'm there, okay. And I can't remember what happened, but P was moved out. And I didn't see her again. But there was another shelter that I knew of called Independent Therapeutic Residence for Adolescents. It was a very nasty, vicious home and environment. And there was a little boy there called David. And he would run away quite often. But I found it funny how every single time these girls would run away and these boys would run away, the adults knew exactly where they were going. Because there were times when we would actually go into Hindley Street and look for these girls, and we would be able to find them at places like downtown and stuff like that. And as soon as they were spotted or whatever, I was made to wait while the adults went upstairs and had a word with them. And then they came and got me and we left again. And I was confused because if that was my child or if that was a person of my responsibility, I would drag them out of there and put them in the shelter van and make them go home. But no, this wasn't the case. Anyway, so David came to this really, really toxic environment. He was already badly abused, but he came to this really awful toxic environment called Itra, and it was at Norwood. And he would always run away, but it was always the same guy he was going to. And the same guy looked after him very, very well. He'd buy him skates, he'd buy him anything his heart desired. David would quite often tell me when I went to go visit there that